Welcome to part 2 of this tutorial. If you missed part 1 and you're interested in how I created this UI that you see here, you can go ahead and watch that first and then come back to this video. This video we cover all of the camera functionality. So if that's all you're worried about, then you don't even need to see part 1. My name is Saucy and let's get started. So immediately when our camera preview loads, we need to set up and start our AV session. So I am going to create a view model. Import AVFoundation and make it observable so that we can observe changes in the UI. And we need our AV session object. We need the preview layer. So we can actually see the camera, and we need our photo output. And if we go back to our camera view, we can create our view model here. Okay. So, like I said, immediately when the camera preview loads, we need to set up our session. So I'll create a function. And before we can actually set up the session, we have to request access to use the camera. And before we even write this code, we actually need to go into our info plist and add this camera usage description. So now we can request access. So to do that, we're going to check the current authorization status for the video media type. And if case is not determined, that means we have not asked for access yet. So we're gonna do that. And if they do allow access, then that's when we can set up. And I'm going to create another function called setup. And we're going to call that right here. Now if case is, whoops. If case is already authorized, then we can just call setup right away. And then there are more cases. For simplicity, I'm not going to bother with them, but if you would like to, please do. I need to make sure I'm calling self.setup here. So this is the function that I need to call as soon as the preview loads. Now back into the setup method. Here's where we begin configuration and set up our session. And we're setting the session preset to be for photos. And now we need to add our input device. And we're just going to get the default for video. Again, if you want to handle your else statements if something fails, please do. For simplicity and a shorter video, I'm not going to do that. So we're going to try to create our input from this device. And now we need to make sure that we can add the input to our session. And we will add it. And now we are going to add the output, which is our AV capture photo output. And we store it in the instance itself because that's where we need it. That's where we're going to need it. Now we're done with our configuration. So we just need to start this session, and that has to happen on a background thread. Otherwise, you're going to get like a warning saying that it needs to happen on a background thread. So we'll call self.session.startRunning. And now is finally time to replace our yellow color with the actual camera. Okay, so to do that, we need to get this preview layer onto a view. And we'll have to use a UI view representable to do that. So camera preview is a UI view representable. And we need to get our view model from the parent camera view. And now we need a couple methods to conform to the protocol. So the first one is make UI view. And the other one is update UI view. Now we need to add our preview layer to the view. And we are also going to get the frame from outside from the parent. because we are going to use Geometry Reader. We're not going to take up the whole screen because we have our control bar. So we're going to get the frame from the Geometry Reader. And now we can create our preview layer with the session that we have started. Set the frame on the preview. And set the video gravity. This is up to you. I prefer resize aspect fill. I think it's the most natural one for taking pictures. Now we're adding the preview to the view. And we can just say it's not returning some UI view, it's just returning a UI view. And now finally we can get rid of this and call camera preview. Pass in our view model and frame. So we need Geometry Reader. And the frame in the global coordinate space. Hey, it's me from the future, having noticed something that I need to correct. So when we added the Geometry Reader, we left the ignore safe area on line 46. We actually need to move that outside to be on the Geometry Reader instead of on the camera preview. And you can see the difference when we do that. It covers up the entire screen, which is exactly what we want. So going forward, keep it on the outside of the Geometry Reader for the rest of this video. Cool, so preview's not going to be any use to us going forward. We're going to run this on our actual device. For me, that's iPhone. Okay, tap take photo, and there's the message. Would like to access the camera. I will allow. Yeah, awesome, there we have it. It doesn't rotate to landscape yet, but we will get to that. So now our objective is to fix the orientation so that the camera works in both portrait and landscape mode. So to do that, we have to set the orientation as soon as the session is started running, and also every time we rotate our device. So to handle the first case, and we want to do this on the main thread, not in the background thread, but we still want to do it immediately after the session started running. So on the main actor, we're going to get into our preview, and there's a connection. There's a variable called video rotation angle, and it's a CG float. So we just need a mapping from our orientation of our device to the angle. So I'm going to create an extension on UI device orientation. And I'm creating a getter that's just going to hold our mapping. Switch on self, so whatever our value is. Landscape left happens to be 0 degrees. Portrait is 90. Landscape right is 180. And then upside down is 270. And we're not going to worry about face up or face down. We're just going to default that to 90, which is portrait. So now here, we just need to call that. And we need to import UIKit here as well. So we've handled it for the first case. Now we also need to handle it every time we rotate our device. And for that, we go into the update UI View method of our preview. Now we have to reset the frame because the frame changed, the width and the height flip-flop when we rotated our device. So we have to reset the frame. And then we have to do the same thing we just did. Update the video rotation angle to be that. So now if we run the app on our phone, we should see it should be rotating just fine. So I'll click take photo. There we have portrait. And there we have landscape. So we got our control bar working. And then landscape the other way. And I don't have the upside down. That's a setting I have to set. But you can try it. Okay, next thing to do is to implement the take photo button. So I'm going to create another function on here. It's going to be accessible from our view. And to take a photo, we go into our photo output. Capture photo with, we'll just do default settings. And we'll make our view model the delegate. Now to do this, we need to inherit from NSObject up here. And the only method we care about is did finish processing photo. And I encourage you to actually handle errors, but for the sake of this video, to keep it as short as possible and as simple as possible, I'm just printing it. So now we can actually get our image. And now we also have to stop the session so that it freezes on our image and doesn't keep updating as we move our device around. So we have to do that on the background thread again. And now that we have our image, we can update that only after the session has stopped running. And so we'll update our image on the main thread here. And now we need a variable to store our image. But I'm not just going to do a data variable. I'm going to do an enum to capture the state of our the photo taking process. So before we tap on take photo, we are in not started. I'll just call it processing. Not started, processing, and finished. And we're going to maintain our photo capture state here. It defaults to not started. And when we click take photo, we update that to in progress or to processing. And we can do that with animation. And I'll import some SwiftUI. And now the purpose of this enum is because there's going to be a period of time when it's in processing and the session hasn't stopped running yet. So we don't want to be taking more photos while we're currently processing one. So we immediately update the photo capture state to processing when we click on take photo. And here, with animation again, we update the capture state to finished, and we will attach with it the image data. So the reason I have self.session.stop running in here, as opposed to putting it in here, like that, because that would stop the session right away. It would freeze the screen right away. You might think it's a better user experience, but it just doesn't work because it is an asynchronous process and the processing of the photo is happening asynchronously as well, and you don't know which one is going to execute first. So if I had this code in here and the session stopped running before we finished processing the photo, we would never get to this method. So we would just lose our image data and nobody would know what the heck happened. So this is the best place. This is the most immediate place that it is safe to stop our session. So now we've got take photo all completed. Now we just need to do retake photo. And we just need to start the session again. So again, we're going into a background thread. And then we need to reset our photo. So currently our photo capture state is sitting in finished. And then on the main actor, we reset that to not started. And now we can go back into our UI and incorporate all this. Before I do all that though, there are still a couple things left to do here. One is that I don't want to run all of this code in Take Photo unless I'm in the correct photo capture state. So I want to make sure we are not started, otherwise we will return. And then I also want to have an easy way to get the photo data. As opposed to going always into the photo capture state and then finished, I can just have this variable. So like that, and then another variable has photo. Just going to be photo data not equal to no. Okay, so now I'm ready to go back into my UI. So I'll go into my buttons. Take photo is just going to be take photo, retake photo, and I need to make this internal so that I can see it in the extension. Use photo. I'm just going to access image data equals vm dot photo data. And then also when we click on use photo, we can dismiss our view. And finally, in the control bar, we have enough so that we can actually determine whether to use the pre or post version. So if vm.hasPhoto, we'll use the post, otherwise we'll use the pre. And now we need to add the view builder because these are different types. And we'll do the same thing for the vertical control bar. And these are backwards. And make it a view builder. Now we can run it on our phone. And there should just be one thing left that we have to do. Here we are, take photo. Got our camera, I'll take a portrait photo. Got it. I'll retake it. I'll use photo. Awesome, so we got it there. And now here's the thing that we still have left to do. If I try to take a landscape photo now, the orientation of the photo itself is off, so we just have to adjust that. So to do that, we're going to go back into our view model. And down here, what we're looking for is this. We need to be able to set the orientation. This is the initializer that we need. So to do that, to do this now, we need a CG image. So from the image data, to get the CG image, we need a CG data provider. And now we can have our CG image. And we can come back here and put our CG image in here. And our orientation, we need another extension on UI device orientation. So we need another mapping to UI image.orientation. So I'll come back in here. And switch on self again. Landscape left, it's up. Portrait is right. Landscape right is down. Portrait upside down, maps to left. And that's all we're going to worry about. And we'll default to right. Portrait again. So back in here. Now we have this value. And now we need to get the data from this to be our image data. So here we can say if all that worked, we can call it finished. Otherwise, and I encourage you to handle errors yourself. Error occurred. And now if we run the app again on our phone, take photo. Here we are, I'll take a landscape photo. I'll use that. Awesome, so it's working. Take a portrait photo now. Perfect. I'll go landscape right. Awesome. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Please like if you like the videos, subscribe for more, and leave a comment if you have any feedback or any questions. This is my first tutorial ever, so Feedback is totally appreciated. Stay saucy.